Hey folks, welcome to episode 55 of the Mile 20 podcast where epic shit happens. I am Laura and I am here with my bestie,
Lori.
And we have a fun episode for you tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're going to be talking to Bob Weinhold.
Who's Bob? What about Bob?
What about Bob?
What about Bob?
Bob is a personal friend of ours. He's also
a good dude.
He's a good dude. He's a partner with Velocity Advisory Group, and he does crazy shit.
He does some crazy shit, like endurance stuff. And we're going to interview him and kind of tap into things that he likes and how he got into, his extreme sports, but then, kind of the benefits of it and, sharing some really cool advice and some tidbits for us as well. So super, super excited to go and interview him. Our Mile 20 beverage tonight is water.
Yeah, we're doing the Myrtle Beach Marathon on Saturday.
Yes, so this coming weekend.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have a feeling there'll be some consumption over the weekend. So we're just prepping.
I'm actually not going to be consuming this weekend.
Okay, well that's you.
Yeah. Yep.
I am still.
I'm still doing my Be Balanced program, and I've dropped a bunch of pounds this past week, so I need to keep the momentum. So
yeah, that's wonderful.
I actually put on a pair of shorts and they fit me, and I was like, go me. So we're gonna keep going with that. So the Epic Week update. So this was an interesting weekend. So last episode we mentioned that we were going to have a girls' weekend at Cranberry Lake. Unfortunately, one of our friends just got ill on Thursday, and so we ended up bagging the girls' trip. So we were very, very sad about that. But Lori, you still went up to Cranberry Lake because you wanted to check on your house that you hadn't been up to in a couple months, right?
Yeah, last time we were up there was over Christmas. And it just kind of felt like it was time to check on it, make sure. Plus, I already had the driveway plowed, so might as well utilize it. Yeah, so interesting enough, I was so glad that nobody came with me on that trip.
Because it was epic when she walked into the cabin.
Epic when I walked in and I heard water running. And I'm like, whoa, that's never a good sign in the winter.
The sink. Not the sink running.
No, and I'm hearing water pouring into my basement, and I walked downstairs to insulation falling down, water pouring from the floorboards, I guess, or just there was a pipe burst above our hot water heater with about 2 to 3 inches of water on the ground in our basement. So yeah, it was great.
It's great.
It's great.
It's great.
But luckily we do have a handyman up there, Brian, thank you very much, who came out and was able to fix it first thing Saturday morning. So I wasn't without water for overly long, but I did learn, which you'd think I would know. I do have a Bachelor of Science in biology. I'm like, oh, I can melt snow for things, because Dave's like, oh, you can just pour water in the back of the toilet to flush the toilet. Because the gray water it was less than 24 hours. I didn't have water. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, there's a ton of snow at Cranberry Lake. So I was taking buckets of snow, bringing it in the house and waiting for it to melt, which it still took forever for it to melt. 1, 2, and then you realize that a bucket full of snow equates to about 2 cups of water.
That's what I was just like. It's like, dude, that's not a lot of water.
Yeah, you would think I would have known that.
Mass.
Yeah. So anyway,
my science friend.
Sometimes I was born blonde.
Yes, you were born blonde.
It does happen.
Yes. Well, I'm so sorry that you had to deal with that, but I'm glad that you still went up there.
Oh my God, yes.
I was a little worried about you going up there by yourself with the just snow and stuff like that. But when you sent us the video, I was like, oh, mother of mercy, I'm so glad that you went up there, because I couldn't imagine the mess that you would have come in and had you not been up there.
It would have been so bad.
Yeah.
Because I have no idea how
long it was broken.
No, all the...
You said it's broken in 3 spots, right?
It took him 3 separate repairs.
Wow.
Yeah. And then it was so we have a heat vent that pumps into our basement to keep our pipes warm, which is why we have all the insulation, but we don't have it. It's not finished really.
Yeah.
Just really just insulation and rafters. So that happened against one wall across the room. And because of the heat in that room, there was so much condensation that there was literally like water dripping like off of the insulation on the opposite side of the room.
Oh,
And
wow.
everything in there had like a layer of condensation. Like everything in that room
Everything, it
was
was
wet.
wet because of the heat that was
Yeah.
in there. And
So Dave and DJ are actually going up this weekend to rip all of
pull
our,
the ins. Yeah,
yeah,
you gotta get the insulation
shit
out of
out.
there.
And
Yeah,
then let
yeah.
that dry, and then they're gonna throw new stuff up. So,
Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious. Epic.
but then and once it was fixed, I literally spent the next 3 days just reading.
Yeah, with the fire going in the fireplace, right? Did you have the fire going?
Evenings because
Yeah,
it was really, I couldn't get to the snow pile.
because there was so much snow.
There was so much snow, and like one of our, racks that we hold our tarp down with
Yeah.
and our wood's under a
Was it
tarp
frozen?
to the ground. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So I only had fires in the evening, but it was
Oh,
nice.
okay. Yeah, all right. I just felt for you. I ended up
Yeah, what'd you do?
as my little diversion. Jim and I went appliance shopping on Friday late
Ooh.
afternoon. So we went to Joey's in Malvern. Have you ever been to Joey's?
No.
It's
I think we did
over by the DMV.
Gerhardt's.
And yeah, no, I'm sorry. Joey's is a steak place. We went and ate lunch there,
Joey's. Gotcha.
and then we went to Gerhardt's
Okay.
for the appliance. So we picked out, our range and our microwave. So because we're redoing our kitchen, we think in the April time period. We don't have an official date yet. And then Saturday we ended up going down to the villa down in our Maryland, our house in Maryland, and I threw out my back. I was painting spindles. It was like one of my projects that was like kind of lingering. We have like a staircase, and the spindles had freaking schmegma all over them. It was like a project I never did when we first bought the house. So, and painting spindles is worse than
Oh my
painting
God.
ceiling.
I can't
I'd
even
rather
imagine.
paint a ceiling now than paint spindles.
Yeah, it's detail. Like, and there's
Yes.
so much surface area where things can
Yeah, I had
drip and
38
cut.
spindles to do, like going down the staircase, and it took me over 2 hours to do. And I didn't take a break because I told you earlier I was like trying to like marry up with Jim's timing of wanting to go down to the dock to go see the sunset because like sunsets like during the wintertime,
Yeah.
they're just spectacular. So this one was going to be a good sunset, so I didn't take a break, and then I don't know, I was sleeping that night, and I felt like somebody took a knife and just kind of stabbed my lower right back. So I woke up the next morning looking like Quasimodo, like, like the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah.
So I got a Justin fix. So Justin Haslam down at Marino's body shop. Whew, man, he worked on me for like 60 minutes yesterday. I had a work call, and I had texted my boss, and I was like, hey, I'm tapping out at 2. Like my back is thrown out. So today when we were talking, and he was like, what'd you do? And I was like, I wasn't anything sexy. It wasn't like, oh, like I ran 100 miles, and I was like, no, I was painting spindles. He's like, Laura, it's never anything sexy when you throw
Never.
your back out.
No.
So, but when we got home on Sunday, I had already coordinated with my parents to go over to their house. I had bought like an eye of the round and some veggies and stuff, and we're gonna do dinner with mom and dad, and so we still went over there, even though my back was all jacked up, and I felt bad because then my mom kept saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, you don't feel good."
Yeah.
So I probably should have stayed home, but it was nice seeing them and visiting with them. And so yeah, so that was my epic weekend. So I'm fixed enough right now where I think I can do a short run tomorrow morning, and we'll test it out and see how it feels.
Fun this weekend.
Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
Mhm.
So, but I am excited to get into our interview with Bob.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Hey, folks. So today on the Mile 20 podcast, we're joined by Bob Weinhold, executive coach, former CEO, and trusted advisor who's helped leaders and family businesses navigate big moments and bold goals. But beyond the boardroom, Bob is an avid endurance athlete, tackling ultra marathons, long distance cycling,
Badass.
backpacking adventures, and even ice climbing. That's some crazy shit, Bob.
Ah, fun.
Now he knows a thing or two about pushing the limits in business as well as in life. And we're excited to dive into both sides of the journey with Bob today. And before we do a official hello, Bob is also one of Dave's partners at Velocity.
Yeah, Velocity Advisory Group.
Yes.
So Bob is a friend.
Yes, he is a friend of the family. Although when we first sat down, Lori went and said, "Hey, Laura, have you met Bob before?" And I'm like, "Dude, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I freaking hiked to the White Mountains with this guy." Yes, I know Bob. Thank you.
I know. I know. I was just having a moment.
Lori just drove like 6, 7 hours back from Cranberry Lake today and came in hot, like right out of her drive to this podcast. So,
Well, and I've been awake since 5 a.m. because I tried to get up to see the blood moon lunar eclipse that was this morning. And I got to see almost to totality, but not quite before it became obscured by clouds in the west. So
yeah,
bummer.
yeah. So Bob,
Welcome.
you're getting us like hot tonight.
Great. I got the call from my daughter who it was 3:30 her time, and she was enjoying the eclipse from Flagstaff, Arizona in
Ooh.
full beauty. Totally.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Did she get some good pictures?
She did. She did.
Ooh.
I am really jealous because yeah, I mean it was definite complete cloud cover here in Pennsylvania this morning. So I was like I got up and I was like I heard the rain. I was like darn it, just wanted to see it.
I don't know. When I saw it, it wasn't very big and it wasn't very orange or red.
That's what she said.
It's going to be a punchy night.
Yeah.
All right, Bob. You know, when you talked about long distance, I can still remember the time. What were you training for? Bob lives about an hour from our house. And there was a few years ago, Bob, you rode your bike from Doylestown to Chester Springs.
It,
Was that just for fun?
it was COVID and there were less people on the road. So I got to go a more direct route. And I hadn't seen your husband, Dave, in a little while. So I rode over. He met me at the front of the neighborhood. I turned around and came back. And that was like 105 or 110 miles.
Just casually.
It was
That's
a
awesome.
Saturday.
She kept talking about this and I was like, dude, that's a really long distance.
The craziest part is I ran 100 miles before I ever rode 100 miles.
Yes. So tell us about that.
Well, my history into running is a kind of a nostalgic one. I spent a number of years in Atlanta, and that's where I met my wife. And her father used to cheer everyone on the Peachtree Road Race every year. And unfortunately, 6 months before our wedding, he was cheering people on and had a massive heart attack, and it went on later to pass. So it was a
Oh,
really challenging time for us in life. But I decided that I would start running and run in honor of him. So I started running the Peachtree Road Race. His name was Al, and I had this shirt that said "Remembering You," big A and L, always. And so I did that and started my running for him to honor him at Peachtree. And I ran 13 years in a row in Peachtree, and I met a great guy down in Atlanta who started to run ultra marathons. And so I thought, wow, that's an interesting thing, and you're crazy. Then I moved north to Philly and I started running and I ran my first marathon and had a good time and qualified for Boston. And I sent my entry in too late and the
Oh.
uh, I got denied.
Oh.
Angry at the running gods, whoever they are. I was angry at them. And so I said, I'll show you.
rightfully so.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
Got into Boston. I made qualifier on my first marathon. And anyway, so I said, I'm mad at the running gods. I'll show you. I've run one marathon. I'll go run a 50 miler in the mountains. That seemed like a good idea.
So which 50 miles in the mountains did you run?
Belmonte. It's a February race down like in winter, down near Charlottesville, Virginia.
Okay.
Great
Oh,
part of the
wow.
country. And it kicked my ass. And I actually did pretty well in it. And I said, I'm bit by ultras forever. It was just an incredible experience.
And
So
and are most of the ultras that you've run, Bob, have they all been like a like predominantly trail
all
running?
trail and I
Okay.
love elevation and mountains. And
Oh,
so I
wow.
used to race all over the US and even over in Europe. And I will never do a flat ultra
Now,
ever.
are you still is it called
Ultra.
ultraing?
The last formal race I did was about 5 years ago.
Okay.
I crewed my and paced my friend last summer at Bighorn and did 30 miles there and
Oh, wow.
Red Rock. And so he's trying to suck me back in, but I have not. I train and run, but I haven't raced in a while.
So I have a question. So I also know Dave and I knew Bob and Kimberly also when we both lived in Ocala together back in the day. So did you run in Ocala as well, or did you
I,
skip
I
over your Ocala chapter with running?
No, I ran a little bit in Ocala. We'd moved down there and I was running with a running group in Ocala, but it was like 3 miles or 5 miles, not stupid miles.
Yeah.
I mean that's a big jump, like going from like one running, and congratulations for getting a BQ because that's like I'm not
Yes.
worthy, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy.
Your first
On your
marathon.
first marathon.
I can't even imagine.
But like the jump to go from a marathon to then an ultra, and how long how I mean, because ultras are they all the same distance or are they different distances?
Over a marathon is considered an ultra. So a
Okay.
50K, anything or 30 miles, anything over the standard 26 is considered an ultra. And I've run 600s. I've run about 20 in the 50 to 80 mile range.
Okay.
Run a couple in the lower range, but I've only run
Okay.
marathons. You guys have run so many zillions of marathons. I've literally only run three, and in one ultra, one long ultra, I've run more miles than I have in marathons. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, that's what's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just how like what about ultras brings you back to that? I know you said you were hooked, but there has to be something that you can grasp, right? That brings keeps drawing you back to that challenge.
It's a great question, and I get asked that a lot. I know that when I start a race, I'm going to feel about as good as I've ever felt and as bad as I've ever felt in the next 24 hours. And I know I'm going to learn something about myself in a way that I can't learn or haven't learned in so many other things. And the difference between even something like a 50 or a 50 mile or a 12-hour race when you're going through the daylight, that's very different than when I'm on the backside of a mountain in the wilderness and I haven't seen anyone for 2 or 3 hours and I'm questioning my sanity, my faith, every decision I've ever made in life and still kind of trudging ahead. And I love what I learn about myself in that process. Make no word, no, there's no qualms. It's not all fun and pain free. They hurt a lot and a lot for a long time. But the learning that I get from ultras, from ice climbing, from alpine mountaineering, all that stuff, I learn more in the backcountry than I can in life and in the business world that's routine.
I love that. So what's one of the most profound things you've learned about yourself? Like through all like I mean, because you I mean, seriously, Bob, like you were like the outdoor dude, like when you talk like when you threw down like when we did a tailgate like a couple months ago like with the Eagles. So Bob and his family show up, had a good time. And next thing you know, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going out to like, Colorado. I'm gonna go ice climbing. I've been ice climbing." I'm like, "Well, of course you're going ice climbing because you're Bob." So, but with all of these different, I mean, because I mean, ice climbing is dangerous, right? But like, what's one of the most profound things like you've kind of gotten like an aha moment about yourself? Because I know Lori and I have had like you've probably had those. I know I
Oh,
have.
I have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think when the reality for me is that the physical, the mental, sometimes even the spiritual things will tell me that I'm not capable. I'm not able to go past things, that I'm in too much pain, that I don't have the energy to do it. And to just be able to take the next step for a few more times in a row, I have found that that works its way out. And I even when I think there's no way to do it or there's no possible way, there's something about movement and people's belief in me. Ultra to me is a team sport. I'll
Mm.
get touched
Hmm,
on this. I
that's
when I
interesting.
When I go into aid stations, my family writes me individual notes for each of the aid stations. So
Oh, that's
I'll be at
awesome.
mile 50 and I'll come into an 100-mile race where, you're just supposed to be getting warmed up and you've been running forever.
At mile
I'll
50.
open up a card that has a quote from my kids or a Bible verse or my children have reached out to friends from my past and I never knew it, and they wrote messages of inspiration to me along the race. And it's all of a sudden I start crying and all that stuff.
Oh,
Realize how powerful the experience of showing other people what's possible can really
mhm.
be. And that's far beyond who I am as a person, you know. That
Oh my gosh. That's beautiful.
I know. Now I'm starting to wonder whether like, I can't say it out loud. I can't even
So,
form
Consider
that
do an
word
ultra.
because I don't want to.
yeah, yeah, don't.
Like,
Don't,
wait,
don't,
I'm not gonna
don't,
say, I'm not, I'm not,
don't,
I'm not, I'm not, I'm not.
don't,
Just let me make this one comment though.
because we have you recorded
I know.
many episodes ago saying I will never run an ultra.
Oh,
No,
she's ready. You both,
no,
I can pick a good race for you.
no. All
And
I'm
here's how it
saying,
happens, folks.
no, but what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
I think when you are in just like a new marathoner, when you hit mile 20, that's like usually your wall, right?
Yeah.
And that's, a marathoner's wall. I know ultra marathoning is very
Very
different,
different, yeah.
but I think now that we've done 70 marathons, mile 20 has lost its luster in a way. Like, I think
Oh, mile 20 will never lose its luster. It's just that
well, it's a party now.
it's a party. Yeah,
But
we've established that.
did,
It's not hard like it used to be
yeah,
because we have both mentally and physically
adapted.
gaslit ourselves at mile 20. We gaslight ourselves every race because we plant an alcoholic beverage at mile 20. So we gaslight ourselves going, mile 20 is not the wall, it's the party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And like mentally, like you change like that. And I think it's like it's kind of like with things in life, right? It's like if you keep going at something and saying this is hard, like just like you were just saying, Bob, right? Like but then you take that next step, right? You do that extra thing or you change your perspective on something. That's what marathoning has helped me with, like in both my personal and professional life, And it's like I'll be sitting at work and something will be kind of hard, and I'm like, well, it's not a marathon. I don't have bullets flying over my head. We're good.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, you know,
And those powerful lessons that I've learned in the outdoor experiences is that as good as it can be, it will change. It's not going to stay like that forever. As bad as it's going to be, usually changes from that too.
yeah,
And the benefit for me having gone through a lot of these things is they can change and you don't stay stuck. And I coach people. I worked as a therapist. I worked as a sports psychologist for a while. That was part of my training. And the brain will freeze on certain places, and whether you're running 70 marathons or doing other kinds of things where you find the way to move through, there's a brilliance and kind of sanctity of how you can carry that into your own family,
yeah.
yes.
work, and into these things that the three of us enjoy as pursuits because they
Yeah.
reinforce that, and that's what's meaningful to me.
So we always talk about on the podcast that there's like a beautiful parallel between like the mile 20 moment in a marathon where it's the wall, it's hard. How are you going to face it as an individual? And how that parallels to like a mile 20 moment in life. Would you say, what would you say would have been like a mile 20 moment in your running, cycling, ice climbing, whatever adventure? And like, what did you use to push through?
Yeah, because it's one of those moments where it's like, should I stay or should I go?
Yeah.
That's a really good one. I maybe this one's a little bit more revealing. And I had run a race called the Zion Ultras out near Mount Zion, or at Zion Park, National
Yeah.
Park.
National Park.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice.
It was
Nicey
right on
nice.
the outsides, and I've always,
Beautiful country.
yeah, it's gorgeous. So the
Gorgeous.
difference there is you start on the bottom and you run up to the top of the plateau, and then you come back down. And over this race, you had to go up 5 times. And so I have had good fortune training, whatever that is, and I've been able to complete all the races that I've entered. And so I was in this race and I was at mile 18 and I had a work event after it. It's all crazy story. So I show up and I'm passing somebody at mile 18. Not crazy, but I go around the person and I trip and I fall and I cut my hand.
Oh, yeah.
And so it wasn't terrible, but it was a huge defeat ultimately, like from my mental state. And I thought, oh gosh, how can you be doing this? And so that started a slow decline that was faster than I thought. And by mile 21, I was like, man, I don't feel like I'm going to be able to do well today. Like I'm feeling bad.
Wow.
Mile 21. There's 100
Wow.
miles to go. And so I started to go downhill and spiral. And by mile 25 or 26, I'm like, this is the worst effing thing I've ever been involved in. And then I hit one of those climbs up the thing. I've never had to stop and sit down. I had to stop and sit down on the climb, not once, but twice. And I'm re-evaluating my whole life. I hate everything. And I said, I finally got up to the top. It was devastating to me. And I got up to the top at about mile 28 and I said, I'm only going to give this to 32. If I don't feel any bit better, I'm dropping. I had plenty of names for myself. None of them are to be repeatable. And terrible. And I just was feeling so bad. And I finally got up and about mile 30, a friend of mine who organizes races, her name's Kara Henniger, great woman. She caught up to me and she was feeling really dizzy and bad. And so you get up on the top of the climb on the plateau and you're literally on a trail like this. And it's about 1,500 feet to the right and there's nothing there. And so she was a little wobbly, and I'm like, why don't you go to the inside? And I wasn't feeling great. She dropped over the next 2 miles and I started to feel better. And by mile 33, I'd revived and I never had a problem the rest of the race and ran strong the whole way. And so that kind of moment was, gosh, you could feel really, really bad, but I didn't allow that to condemn the rest of the outcome. And I found a way to get through everything and be pretty reasonable with it. But it was such a surprising thing so early on, and it had never happened for me ever before.
Wow. Do you think the interaction with your friend Kara helped to like kind of create a mental distraction for yourself and like take the focus off of you and a little bit of focus on her?
Laura, it's a great question. And I think it is, and it
Yeah.
did. But what I have found is that despite having to run for 24 or 30 hours, the body is actually capable of doing a lot of that. A whole lot of it has to do with nutrition,
Yeah.
sugar, salts. And if
Yeah.
once I finally started to get some of that stuff back in, it gave my brain enough chance to turn around. And I kept plodding on, walking on, moving on, and rebounded well. So
Wow.
things in life where I think we think everything's coming down on us. And maybe if we eat a little different, change temperatures, talk to somebody, we can get through a whole lot of shit that heads our way.
Oh, I tell you, so I have to share this one moment. Lori and I were running in a race out in Deadwood. Beautiful scenery,
Mm.
absolutely spectacular. And what I didn't account for, didn't look at the race elevation, was that the entire first half of the race was like up.
A 3% rail trail
yes,
going up
just
for 13 miles.
for 13 miles. And at about mile 7, so I just started kind of melting down. And at that point in time, I don't even know how many races, like we had run a lot of races together. And so I started running when after my brother passed away. So just like you were running for like your father-in-law, I was running for my brother. So every race I wear his picture on my back. Now his name is Ned, and Lori has never met Ned, but Lori knows Ned.
Yeah.
Lori knows Ned like
I'm pretty
you know,
sure Ned set this up.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yes.
this is his making.
And so at some point in time at mile 7, Lori takes her hand and she's like, I have to go and take a rock out of my shoe or adjust my whatever. And she puts her hand over my back, over Ned's picture, and she's like, "You and Ned need to go and have a conversation and figure out what you got going on right now." And so I had a lot of choice names for myself as well that I'm not going to repeat, right? I think I sounded like I had Tourette's and I was like yelling them out loud at myself, right? I walked away, I was crying, like, and I'm not a super emotional person,
No, it
like
was
at
a
all.
very odd moment.
And so I got my crap back together and we did some intervaling, but it's like one of those things where it was a combination of like a little bit of hard, core friend intervention, but then like okay, what are you doing? Because I'm like, you never want to come back here to run. Like,
We're gonna go back there.
I know we're gonna go back there to run. But to do, I never thought I was going to do the 50 states again. So it was one of those things where it's like, whether it's like in an emotion or just some physical, like just barrier, for you, I mean, both mental and physical, right? And it's just like there are different things that can go and like, kind of keep us down or, turn us around.
I think the internal monologue that goes on in your own head is so stinking important. Like, I can remember every time when I was first running, like seeing a hill, oh God, here's another hill, and whatever, and trying to, this is so hard. Well, because in my head, it was a hill, so it was going to be hard. Well, yeah, hills are hard. So I started sarcastically at first going, I love hills. I love hills. I love hills. Hills are great. I actually kind of like hills now. Like it's just weird how like if you can just start, even if it's sarcastic, like a monologue with yourself in your head, changing your opinions or your thoughts to the opposite of what you think is going to be hard or that you're gonna dislike. It's amazing how you can change your perspective on it.
It's really fascinating. And I take that over to the work world. My background is in psychology and training in that way. When you think sitting down and not moving, your brain processes information differently than when you're moving because part of the brain has to continue the stimulation. And so I had an old boss, I was actually just texting with him tonight, great guy. And he would say to me things like, he had to give me some hard news when I was a CEO and he kind of come down on me, go, Bob, I need you to put your armor on. And I knew it was coming. And
Oh,
he knew that he could deliver something very direct. But we had an understanding that I would have to take it on a run the next morning. So I wouldn't respond back to this kind of very important stuff, but I could hear it. And then I go out the next morning. So I process it. So it goes back to how do we
Mm.
think when we're moving? I'm not a person that listens to music or has headphones in when I run. It's a very scary place above my head or above my shoulders and between my ears. But that's where I do my best thinking.
I love that.
I would think that you are so connected to what's going on in your head because you spend so much time in the outdoors. Because there's something about backcountry experiences when you're deep in nature, that just things calm and then become clear. The clarity and the calm. It's amazing.
It's fascinating. And when I was really training and racing a lot for ultras, I got to the point where I could feel my body switch its fuel source between carbohydrates, between protein. I knew when my sodium levels were low. I knew when my sugars needed to go up. So it was like flying an airplane or a spaceship, and you could have all those dials. It was really fascinating.
It's funny. I had shared like what 2 or 3 episodes ago. I have to get some nasal surgery done. I have an issue with my nose, but my doctor, he's also a runner, and he actually was like, because I was like, yeah, dude, like, I'm just so honed in on like having like breathing issues right now on the right side of my nose, and he's like, that's the downside of being a runner is that runners are so in tune, like just athletes in general, like endurance athletes, we're so in tune with our bodies in terms of like what makes us go and what makes us kind of start to deplete, and so he's like, yeah, you kind of need to breathe through both sides of your nose.
Absolutely.
It's only kind of important.
So Bob, how did you get into backpacking and like, like,
Being the
just be
outdoorsy
the
man
out,
you
yeah,
are.
being in the outdoors. Was it always something that you were attracted to as a kid? Did you kind of come into
Were
it?
you a Boy Scout?
Yeah, were you a Boy Scout?
Great questions. I did not, my parents are not athletic or active. So that was not something that they did. Like your son, Lori, was a swimmer.
Yeah.
I was very active swimming and water polo, but the outdoors really came to me much later in life. As a parent, I chose that when each of my children turned 10, that we would do a father-child adventure trip. So it was 4 days of nonstop packed things. Some we would plan together and some we would plan independently. And where the two of you and I spent time in the mountains, up in the White Mountains, was where my oldest daughter, Bailey, had her first 10-year-old adventure trip. So when I was in the peak of all my ultra training and running and racing, I bring this young little 10-year-old, and she ended up doing 16 miles with me in the mountains in 2 days as a
At
10-year-old
10.
at 10.
That's
And
awesome.
we hiked up and stayed at the hut that you actually met her in when she
Oh,
was hut master. So Bailey came up into the huts at 10 years old, and the experience of both her and I together in the mountains and then going to those huts was so impactful to her that it created this kind of desire to be in the White Mountains, to be a hut crew, CROO, and then eventually she became the youngest hut master at the biggest hut, Lake of the Clouds. And so that became a way for us to form our relationships, to have time away from screens, to be out in the
Yeah.
wilderness where we've learned and experienced so much. And so the White Mountains is kind of Mecca for me in that. That's where it really started, and it's still very special to me. Where I was with Dave and Maggie, I was there 6 weeks ago in winter hiking and staying up at a hut and getting out into full conditions with 40 mile an hour under negative 40 wind chills as the sun comes up. I love every bit of that. So it
yeah.
started.
So what makes you go out there though? You're hiking and with your 10-year-old daughter, and then you're like, you transfer that, and then you're like, yeah, I want to do this when it's negative 40 outside and snow on the ground.
With all the signs that say you can die.
Oh, people do die. A lot of people.
Yes. Yeah.
In the family, we are raised with kind of two big monikers, which is safety and respect. They're very important. And I do a number of things that some people might deem as not as safe, but I do them very safely. So I have beacons and I have gear to be able, I was mountain climbing in Peru a couple years ago. So I have gear to be able to survive at 19 and 20,000 feet up. So I do it very safely with those things. But the natural progression is, again, it's not that I have to keep stretching the limits, but I learn so much about myself and in that environment where I'm not thinking about other things and I'm able to experience stuff that it becomes the best classroom for me in all areas of life.
Mm.
I don't know if it's possible, but I want you to take me out. Not ice climbing, but I would like to go for a winter hike up in the mountains because it scares me. But I feel like it's so beautiful. I want to try it.
It is so beautiful. And
That'd be peaceful.
in the White Mountains, well, it's not. In the White Mountains, they have what's called full conditions in the winter. So the White Mountains, in retrospect, for people that are domestic in the U.S., the tallest mountain is Mount Washington. It's only 6,300 feet up in the air, but you can get above tree line in the White Mountains, kind of in northern New Hampshire, a little over 4,500 feet. So you have to go out to Colorado or other places and you're at like 8, 10, or 12 to get up there. So you can get above tree line in a very short amount of time. It's very accessible. We can get there in 3 to 4 mile hike. But what happens between being in the woods and heavy winds and when you step out of tree line, it's very different. So it's known as the place with the highest wind speed on the planet that's been recorded. And in the winters, it gets very cold, but three jet streams convene. And so I've been up there, like I was up there, like I said, a few months ago. And I walked above tree line. Snowpack is knee deep to thigh deep if you don't have snowshoes. And it was -5 degrees with 35-mile-an-hour sustained winds and gusts of 50. So your wind chill's about 35 to 40 below. And so it sounds like when you emerge above tree line, we all fly. It sounds like the jet engine is humming. It sounds so crazy. And all of a sudden, you literally go from feeling fairly secure to I could die. And it's like that right away. Lori, next winter we're on. Can't wait. Lori, you can come.
I don't know if I'm
No,
gonna regret that.
This,
I'm good. I'm good.
Start in the Adirondack.
I'm good, Bob.
With
I'm good.
4,000 feet.
I'm good.
it,
There's one good gift that I have is self-awareness and nope, not interested in that.
yeah. It's just there. What I would say is, and I've taken my kids up there and a few others, is that when you step up there, if you're doing it, I watch weather forecasts. I have bailout plans. Even if I'm hiking, I carry full shelter and a sleeping bag and all these things so that I could
Oh
survive.
yeah, up there you definitely have to. Yeah.
I mean, there've been 170 people that have died in the White
Yeah.
Mountains in the last.
Yeah. See, my thing is I felt like I mean, it was not easy, doing that, but then doing it in the snow, I'm like, no.
Well, and I mean, I felt like we had pretty good, we had shitty weather. I mean, we didn't have a lot of views and it was,
Right.
Yeah.
misty. We were in the clouds
We were in the
and
clouds.
yeah,
Yes.
and it was very windy when we were there as well. So it's like thinking about that in the winter.
But people have died in July and August from
Yeah.
snowstorms and being buried in the summer months. And so my daughter went out on rescues when it was 10 to 15 degrees below zero in late July, rescuing two guys that had one had turned an ankle and they were in a snowpack and couldn't get out.
Oh my
Geez.
goodness gracious. Yeah. Yeah, that I mean that place is no joke. I mean, and I think the thing that I took away from our experience with you when because you had been there before obviously you were bringing your daughter when she was 10. So when we had all convened, into the White Mountains, it was cool to go and hear you talk about, just the terrain and teaching all of us, and we were all like sponges. It's like, okay, we're all outdoorsy people, but it was it was great, just learning from you, just about
Well, no,
the
it was
terrain
my
and
favorite quote was, "You can see the trail. It's in the rocks." And I'm like, I
and she's
don't
like,
see the trail, Bob. It's just
Yeah.
rocks.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I did see it come day 3,
Yeah.
but it took 2 days to get there.
It takes a while, and there have been trails up there. The oldest continuous use trail in the country, the Crawford Path, is there, and people have been using those mountains for 100 plus years. And out west, you do switchbacks to get up a
yeah,
mountain. Not in the whites, you go straight up or you
as
straight.
we talked about that. Yep, straight up.
That's just East Coast, period. East
Oh,
Coast hiking is relentless.
So Bob, with all of the different trails, not necessarily like your ultra marathon, your ultras, but just all of your excursions, through the backcountry. What's been one of your favorite trails that you've done and why?
that's a great question. I'll just steer back towards the White Mountains because this is up in New Hampshire. There's what's known as kind of the epic adventures in the White Mountains, and you all did the backpacking of the Presidential Traverse, and so it comes up into the Presidential Mountains, and you summit those mountains and you go down. And so I've done a number of the big things in the White Mountains, and so one of them is I did a double presidential. There's a thing called the Pemi Loop, the Pemigewasset Loop, which is in the peak of fall in those White Mountains. You can do
Oh,
a 40-mile loop that is entirely deep in orange and red and yellow leaves. You can't see civilization anywhere. It's this beautiful 40-mile loop. I backpacked it, but I've also run it. And that one's great. And then the epic one is called the Hut to Hut Traverse, which is you start at one hut at one end and you run six through six huts at the other. And it's 54 miles and only about 30% runnable. And those 54 miles were took me as long and have been almost as difficult as my hardest 100, just because the
Wow.
trails are so tough. I love the history up there. If you go into the northern presidentials where you guys were on a good day or a bad day, it's just incredible. The scenery is incredible. So that was that, and then I had a chance to go down to Peru and do a real big alpine mountaineering expedition, and we went and got very close to summiting a mountain called Alpamayo, and in the Cordillo Blanco region, and that was at 18,000 feet, and we got up
Wow.
a high camp, and both of our guides unfortunately came down with cerebral
Oh,
pulmonary edema. So not cerebral, but pulmonary edema. So they're
yeah.
started to fill up with fluids, and if you don't turn around and go back down, your lungs don't have any more air to bring in. So
Oh my goodness. And those were your guides?
yeah, it was unfortunate, but
Oh
that's
my goodness.
life, you know. And
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, 18,000 feet.
It's
It's
no joke.
no joke. I mean, I think the highest we've gotten is like
Like
14,
almost
almost
15,
15
just shy of 15.
in Peru as well. And that was crazy. Like I mean, people who have never experienced altitude like sickness or like impacts on your body, like you just lay down in your sleeping bag and your heart's like doosh 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 doosh,
And that's your resting heart rate.
oh,
you're like, this can't be
I was
good.
breathing heavy for 5 minutes unpacking a sleeping bag. But
Yeah.
we were hiking with packs and even ice climbing at that elevation, and it was just among the hardest things I've ever done.
Was that your first ice climbing experience?
No, we took 2 or 3 prep trips to get ready for that. Um,
Ah.
and I learned ice climbing in my mid 50s, and it's just such a special thing. I spent 2 weekends ago in Lake City, Colorado with my climbing friends, and then my kids came and joined as adults to learn how to climb. And I was as happy as I could be. It's so much fun.
So, what drew you into ice climbing? You're like, I'm a hiker, I run, I love doing all this stuff. Ice climbing, yes.
So if you go into really big mountains way up high, there's certain places that you can't go unless you climb generally steep or vertical ice. And
Oh,
so
you have problems with limits. I see.
well, that's when the mountains stop. With that's the limit, unfortunately, when it can't go any higher. Uh, but I learned ice climbing, and it's not familiar to me. It's not something I was good at. It's not something I understood. But I learned kind of the finesse of it after a little while, and just appreciating it. And it's beautiful. It's ever changing.
Mm.
Do it safely, but it's taxing, and it's just I don't let me assure you, when I was hanging out at 100 feet straight on a sheer cliff of ice, I don't think about a lot of other stuff. I don't think about work. I don't think about a lot of other things, and it's nirvana. It's just wonderful.
So are you like on a belay line?
Yeah.
Like when you're doing it?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. All right. That makes me feel better,
Yeah,
Bob.
yeah.
Two things called
I'm
ice
picturing
tools.
Spider-Man like going up and I'm like, oh, please tell me you're on a
I'm
belay
thinking
line.
about the guy who does the free solo.
No, no,
Yeah.
that's not us. So we have like two ice tools. People think of ice axes. Ice axes you use when you hike. Ice tools you use when you climb vertical ice. And then you have crampons. And so you have 2 points that go straight into the ice. And then you have another 14 points under each. So if you think about it from a risk standpoint, you've only got like 36 or 38 points that could go into your skin and pierce a vessel, and you could die right there. But other than that, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that sounds, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm seeing a trend here though, right? It's like, dabbled in like the race in Atlanta, then you got into the marathon, then it's like, oh, now I'm in ultras and ridiculous backpacking trips. And so it's like it's like the next I don't want to say like the adrenaline thing or the push, right? To like challenge yourself. Like, like are you finding it hard because like you just mentioned, you got introduced to ice, ice climbing in your mid 50s, right? We're in our 50s. Do you find it like you got to make a conscious like decision that like I can do this. Like because you're a fit guy, right? So I can do this even though I'm in my 50s, or does that even like hit your brain at this point in time? Like, that you're in your mid 50s and you're like, okay, like the body doesn't function like it did when I was like in my 20s, but like I got to compensate a little differently. I got to be smart about it.
That's a deep question. So many levels. I have chosen not to stay in a particular area of active interest for too long because I've
Yeah,
changed because I learn different things and I find it important for Bob to put myself in places that I'm not good and I need to learn rather
got
than
it.
Mm.
places that are just proficient. It's not something that I do easily. It's hard for me to do that, but that's where I learn the most.
I
And so
love that.
that's why I've chosen to do that. And the crazy part is I was just in a conversation with somebody about kind of bodies and function and all this kind of stuff when I went to train for the big alpine climbing. That was a 2 or 3 year project. But the demands there, I actually was in as good, if not better, physical condition in the last few years than I was when I was a Division 1 water polo player and swimmer. Because I got really disciplined and the training was obscene level, but the body in the mid 50s was as good as it was in the 20s. And so this junk that people say that you can't do it when you're older,
Yeah.
things fall apart, horseshit is what I have to say.
Yeah.
But I think you also have taken care of yourself through the
Yeah.
years. And I think,
Every day.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that some people, like, if you're not active and
Yeah.
you're not participating or taking care of yourself now, it doesn't get easier as you get older. Like, you have to take the bull by the horns and start at as young as you can to maintain when you're later in life, I feel.
You're great to call me out on that. And that's one of the things that I've said to my kids because they often ask. And I said, I couldn't jump into doing what I do now if I were not having done what I've done for the past many decades. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, there is a cumulative effect. And my energy is usually pretty high all the time.
Well, there's something about swimmers, though. I don't know. Like, watching DJ is just a fucking amazing athlete. And I feel like people who start in the pool, there's something about like VO2 max and all the things that they
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
especially when they start swimming when they're young, that just sets people up to be amazing athletes later in life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, and Bob, I love like what you were just talking about in terms of like, you wouldn't be able to go and do what you do today had you not done like all the activities, everything, and just caring for yourself, right? Like it's so important. So if you could like right now sit down with like your 20-year-old self and give your 20-year-old self advice, like what would that be?
Um, Keep changing and keep growing. Never be complacent and recognize that, Bob recognized you can have a bigger impact than you think.
Ah, I love that. I love that.
That's a good one.
I love that because I'm assuming that that's stuff that you have learned along the way, but like knowing that that would have been something early on in life. Yeah. So, Bob, if you could, like, because we have listeners from all over the world. We are in actually, I think the latest we were in 32 countries and was it 40, 42 or 44 states? I think
Yeah,
it's 44 states.
bunch.
And, and we have people who are marathon runners, beginning runners, and so forth. So, if and man, your background between like, being a psychologist,
Sports psychology guy, psychology therapist.
psychology. I'm
All
not drinking. I'm like,
We are having an evening.
So, with all right, so with your background, right, both your education as well as, your professional career, your athletic career, What advice would you give people like who are, I mean, they could just be starting out, they're younger in life or they're in their 50s and they want to start something. Obviously they're not going to dive into stuff like you're doing or even like us like right away, right? Because there's like a tremendous amount of training and build up. But what advice would you give people like just in terms of like staying active and like and using your experience of like finding the stuff that you like to do, because obviously you have a lot of things that like, you've been into, but like, how does somebody start, like just trying to find their own path?
This may be an odd answer. Walk more. Find places and ways where you can walk to things.
Yeah.
I love that.
I started walking to church on Sundays, and it's a 6 mile round trip for me, but I walk it all year, whether it's in the snow or the rain or the heat. That just is a way to kind of meditate and ground me, but it builds fitness. Be around other people that are doing a variety of different things. I got interested in ultras because I started running with a guy who liked ultras. And introduced my best friend. He and I actually met in Doylestown running in the morning at 5 o'clock in the morning when I first moved to town. We never connected for another year, found that we'd run the Philly half together and our time was about the same. And that started this 15-year long relationship where we started running
Wow.
together. And we prayed together, ran together, solved business problems. He now is on the extreme end. He's running a 240-mile continuous race in a few
What?
9 marathons in a row. Dude's crazy. Nick, if you're listening, you're crazy. So
Nick, you're crazy,
in
but
in
good
the
luck.
Swiss Alps, 340 kilometers.
How
But
long is that going to take him?
6 days of nonstop running. He'll maybe sleep 7 to 10 hours. So put yourself around other people that know and understand things. I learned cycling because I got off the running and a couple guys said, "Why don't you come ride a bike with us?" I learned backpacking because somebody said, "Hey, do you want to join me in the woods on a hike sometime?" And so experience other things, learn from other people, and be willing to kind of sit with your own thoughts and also believe that there's more in life that doesn't happen behind a screen or in a sedentary lifestyle. You can experience and grow a bunch yourself, whether you're walking, doing a 5K, or running, God knows, 240 miles in a row.
Yeah, there is a sliding spectrum. I think it's just move. Just
Yeah,
move. It's
just
just so
move.
good for your mental health.
Physical.
God, the screens, they drive me crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Physical.
not in front of one like all day long. Like it's a lot. It's a lot. And I that's why I think I love the outdoors, but I love that advice, Bob.
Yeah.
You don't have to start big. It's just start small and then, find stuff that you like, and that you enjoy. I know for me, like, just because I work remotely. And so during the day, I will go outside and I will do my loops. I'll do loops around the couple of neighborhoods here. And it's just nice to, just kind of, oh, hey, like those bulbs grew like an inch in a day. I mean, these are the things that I look at, like, and instead of, getting kind of like so wrapped up, in everything else in life, just kind of connecting with nature. So absolutely fantastic advice. I loved talking to you tonight.
I know.
The real quick piece is do it in the morning. I know not everyone's a morning person, but if you
Yeah.
do stuff in the morning, it's your time and no one can take it away from you. So
Amen
no
to
matter
that.
what happened, the rest of the day, you can still feel good about having
Yep.
accomplished that. And the rest of the defecation can hit the oscillator and you still got done what you wanted.
Yes, agreed. A
I love
hundred
it.
percent.
I
I
love
think
it.
I think that as the day progresses, the excuses just pile up and it becomes very easy to find other reasons to not.
Yeah.
And so you got to just do it.
Yeah, yeah. Like right now, it's 8 o'clock at night, and I still have to do my one. Lori and I are doing a 1 mile a day challenge. And yeah, so this morning it was kind of like it was a nice storm, and I threw out my back over the weekend, and I was like, okay, like we're gonna do this later on today, and then it was still raining, and then now it's still raining, and I'm like, shit, now it's 8 o'clock at night, and I still got to go out there, so I'm like, I should have done it in the
Get
morning.
it done. You'll get it done.
I know, I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll get done, but you know.
Yeah, the rule is that it's 1 mile. Doesn't matter the speed, just 1 mile, but it does have to be outside.
It has to be outside.
Regardless of the weather.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you all for being an inspiration and carrying a message to so many people in so many countries and so many places. And your 70 marathons and your ongoing commitment to jump into a podcast and push that out. It means a lot to a lot of people. So thank you both.
Oh, well,
Thank you, Bob.
thank you, Bob. And I tell you what, anytime like Lori and I are talking about, just like the epitome of like, endurance, we're like, Bob.
Oh yeah.
No, it's serious. Like
No.
it's just really cool. It's just
it's
cool what you do. It's inspiring.
It's inspiring. It makes me think maybe, even though I really know in my heart I don't want to, but I think I could. I know I can. That's the
You
thing.
can do anything.
I could do anything.
You can do anything. It's whether you want to.
I just don't want to.
Yeah.
But you make me feel like I can, which I like that. No, but it's always fun to talk to you because I feel like I get such a high talking about all our adventures and everything with people. And so I feed off of the energy when I'm talking to somebody who has that similar passion to experience and adventure. And so I love hearing all of your stories and everything that you've experienced. I think it's wonderful and it's inspiring, and you've inspired your children and, and you've put that all into your family. And I think it's wonderful.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.
Oh, you rock, man.
Bye, Bob. Thank you.
Bob, thank you so much. Hey, have a safe travel across country.
Yes.
And you know what they're going to have in Iowa? Corn.
And wait, are you ice climbing on this trip? Or are you not going to ice climb?
Essentially, I'm trying to figure out whether I can hold back and not pack that stuff. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not.
You know you're going to pack it.
You're driving all the way out there.
You know you're going to pack
Come
it.
on.
Come on, Bob, pack it.
You know you want to.
You know you want to.
Being really tired on the ice with 36 or 38 points, not the best.
No, get some rest and then go ice climb.
Yeah. There we go.
Well, safe travels to you, and thank you so very much. We greatly appreciated you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, Bob. We just had a lovely Mile 20 moment where we forgot to shoot our outro. We want to thank everybody for listening in today. Please take a moment and follow us at Mile 20 Podcast on Instagram and on Facebook. Like us, subscribe on YouTube, and you can stream us anywhere you stream your podcasts. Next week, we will be talking about the Myrtle Beach Marathon that Laura and I will be running on Saturday. So excited to get down to Myrtle Beach. Thank you for listening. Now go make Mile 20 your bitch. Peace out.